Welcome back to another modern day debate Discord stage event. Today I got a hot one for you. Today we are talking about is BDSM self-harm. With us today we got Poopemanz and Wash. I'm just going to leave it at that and let them get into it because this is going to be steamy. Have at her, guys.
Okay. Well, I hate to disappoint, but I'm pretty for sure this is an open and shut case. I'm not saying that we should like kink shame BDSM or anything like that. I'm just saying we should treat it as self harm because it literally is. That's what the M stands for. Masochism is getting sexual pleasure from self harm. And that's pretty much it.
I believe that would be the end of Poopeman's opening. Wash. Have a couple of
Um,
seconds, and then we could just get right into it. And that's what she
okay,
said.
so so I'm going to debate your points here in a second, but before I do, let me give you an education on what masochism actually is. Masochism is enjoying endorphins more than you fear pain, because that is what happens when your body experiences a pain stimulus. You get a release of endorphins that feel really, really good. It's like a tingling inside of your body, and it's incredible. And when you want that feeling more than you are scared of a little bit of pain that it takes to get there, then you may consider yourself to be a masochist. And at that point, you may want to experience pain, but not harm. And this is the distinction that comes into play here that matters so very much. You're saying masochism is self harm, but self harm to me would imply you have some kind of permanent damage from it. Hurt is not harm. Pain is not harm. It just is. It sucks, but you deal with it. Harm would be if someone were to cut off a limb because they really wanted to experience not having it.
Is that it?
Yes, sorry.
Alrighty,
Should we,
yeah.
should we like say over or?
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's just it's so quick. But yeah, let's move right into it. I'm not even going to bother with the clock. I will set the timer locally, just so we don't go too crazy with time. But have at it. Open discussion. 45 minutes on the clock.
I mean, that's not really. I've been in like therapy my whole life and I've done a lot of research on therapy. I'm pretty for sure harm can be as simple as just like giving yourself like a little bit of a burn, like twisting your skin or something, or just scratching a little bit too hard. Like just because necessarily you can get like the endorphins from like pain that doesn't leave permanent damage. Trust me, a lot of people would consider themselves masochists if you include things like losing in Jump King or any like hard video game or forms of emotional pain. But like when we're talking about BDSM, I'm pretty for sure we're not talking about like playing a really hard video game. I don't know. That's just not what gets my rocks off.
So, before we get into whether or not video games have anything to do with bondage, let me ask you, have you experienced it?
I mean, like in the sense of like getting endorphins or like an adrenaline rush, sure.
Masochism. Have you experienced masochism?
In your definition of like getting endorphins from like pain or something, yes, obviously, like I've gotten clipped by a car before, but I wouldn't want to get clipped just because it felt good.
Sure, because getting clipped by a car has the potential risk of causing you harm, which is to say something permanent happening to you, right? Your definition of harm doesn't make sense because if harm is just a small burn or a little bit of pain twisting your skin, then how do you distinguish it from hurt?
You don't.
Oh, so they're the same word? They're just the exact same meaning that happen to be spelled two different ways and said two different ways?
Yeah, we have a lot of different words like this in the English language, like yes and sure.
No, we don't.
Yeah, I can keep on going.
Each and every word has its own distinct use and purpose, and it cannot be completely and totally switched out with another word as though they were the same. Hurt versus harm has a massive distinction. Hurt is not the same thing as harm. I can get hurt, whenever someone says something mean to me, but I don't get harmed unless it becomes a trauma that I'm going to keep with me for a long amount of time.
Again, if you're into BDSM, wouldn't you be doing this on a regular basis, which would make it a repeat offense, therefore making it somewhat of a reoccurring appearance?
It is a reoccurring appearance, but it still isn't causing a harm that lasts, right? Like, this isn't a hurt that's going to be there forever. You're not like, and I want to make this clear. There are forms of masochism that do go too far, in my opinion, where it does become self harm, and that would be something where someone is becoming marred for life, right? You may even go as far as to say that you want to be spanked or cut in a way that is pleasant to you, but doesn't cause you permanent marring. That to me is hurt. The moment where it becomes a permanent loss to your life, that's when it becomes harm.
I mean, that's a pretty extreme take because, like, bruises heal, but
Yes.
I'm pretty for sure you would consider someone like bashing themselves into a wall until they're all bruised up to be harm.
Yeah, but the fun thing in society is, while that is totally an insane behavior, if you put gloves on first and you go in a ring and you get someone else to punch you in the head instead, then it's considered normal and we pay you to do it and we reward you for doing it in our society. We call it
A
boxing.
lot of people have issues with those kinds of sports like wrestling and football and whatnot, and we put in a lot of safety regulations now, so you can't do those same things anymore. Even when we're doing sports specifically about doing, like, getting beat up.
Are you saying that we can't box anymore?
I'm not saying that we
do MMA
can't
anymore?
box anymore, but I'm saying, like, when in our goals of sorry, let me restart.
Take your time. Sure, no worries.
Even within the sports centered around hurting each other, when the sports become more popular and throughout time, we try to make them as safe as possible and minimize the harm that would happen to you. We don't play those specifically for the harm. We play those to test our abilities against each other.
Okay, fair. Whenever you as a submissive submit to your dominant, they do something that's typically in the form of testing your limits and helping you explore them for yourself and deciding when you want to push and when you don't, right? It's a very safe and fun thing where a dominant encourages you to grow through the experiences. In that way, you're pushing yourself and trying to be better. So it's just like competing in a sport, but there's no other person who's pushing you. You have a dominant who's helping you to grow, helping you to guide you. So how is that different?
Well, like I said, I don't really have or maybe I forgot to say this part, but, like, I don't care about the first three letters. Like,
Right.
the issue is when it starts getting physical, and not that kind of physical, if you know what I mean.
I think I might have an idea, but so let's define these letters because just for the viewers. So we have BDSM, which stands for what in your mind?
Well, I believe it's bondage, and I forget what the second definition of the D is for. And then there's dominance and submission, and then there's sadomasochism or sadism and masochism.
Yeah, bondage, domination, sadism, and masochism. Some people occasionally refer to it as bondage, domination, slave, and master, but that's a less common term or less common use of it. So you're saying that bondage is fine, which would be tying someone up or restraining them in some way, right? You're saying that's fine.
I mean, as long as you're not, like, physically harming them while restraining themselves, you can, like, you can just, like, put on a seatbelt, and that would be bondage to a certain extent. That would be absurd to say that that would be harm. Like, restraining yourself can actually help you in certain cases.
Yeah, okay. So you're okay with bondage, but are you okay with like what if I wanted to get tied up and spanked? Is that okay with you?
I mean, like I said, I'm not going to, like, kink shame you for like wanting to get spanked. Like it's
Right.
what you like desire. I like that's just not how that works. But I would see like some like things that you might want to work out, because it's
Why?
another
I'm
thing.
seeking pleasure. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with seeking pleasure?
Well, I mean, like someone that takes heroin is seeking pleasure. Like there's just because you're seeking pleasure doesn't make it good for you.
Right. But they're seeking pleasure that's a detriment to their future self, right? Like they're saying, I'm going to shoot up because I'm going to enjoy it right now, and I don't care that it's going to ruin my life, right? They say, I don't care I'm going to lose my job, I'm going to lose my family, none of that matters. I'm going to shoot up right now. That is the definition of self-harm.
I mean, most of the people that have those are, it's not really losing my job, it's losing my chances of getting a job. Most people that take heroin are already in like a shitty spot. Like, let's not get this mixed up. And
Let's
in a
say I agree with
similar
that.
sense, if you're into BDSM and you're like constantly getting bruises and whatnot, like you are kind of doing that, or getting interested in certain ways. Masochism is going to turn off a lot of people.
You think masochism is a turnoff for most people?
Well, I think because we have normalized it so far now in society, it's not really a turnoff. But when it comes to like like in day-to-day life, it's a turnoff, but I know BDSM is a very common fetish. It's not like a weird thing.
I don't understand. It's a turnoff, but it's a common thing. So you're
Like
saying it's a turnoff for you personally, or you expect other people to be turned off by it?
no, it's one of those like it's taboo to like have it be brought up, or like if you're like just getting hurt and like it gets like, ooh, I got hurt and whatnot. Or like it's taboo even though it shouldn't be. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Okay, so you don't feel like masochism should be taboo,
Like,
but you feel like it's self-harm.
no, I think a lot of people are into it, but people are like find it to be a taboo subject. That's why people are into it. People usually are into like, when it comes to sexual deviancy, people usually are into things that are like things that they're told not to be into. And I do think that it is self-harm, and it like how you solve self-harm isn't by making it taboo. That's just going to make them do it in secrecy. Can we agree on that?
How we solve self-harm. I think there is a path to solving self-harm, but it depends on what the self-harm is. In this instance, I don't think we've established that this is self-harm. In fact, I think that I completely disagree with you on the thought of this even being considered self-harm by any definition. This is hurt in exchange for pleasure, which is very much the human condition. We always have to work or pay some kind of price to get the pleasure we want.
Like, I don't like I said, like just because you're getting pleasure out of it doesn't mean that you're not like hurting yourself still. Just because like I give myself a purple nurple when I go to bed doesn't mean that I'm not still hurting myself just because it felt good to do so.
That's true. You'd still be hurting yourself, but a purple nurple isn't going to leave permanent harm, so it doesn't count as self-harm. You'd be self-hurting, which is fine, but you wouldn't be self-harming, so no one needs to be involved in it, right? You're not going to lose your nipple because you pinch it every night. If you were, porn stars would be completely pointless by now. Get it? Pointless, because like they would fall off. Never mind.
I'm sorry, I forgot my rim shot machine at home.
When I look up self-harm versus self-hurt, it autocorrects to self-harm versus self-harm, and I'm not finding anything that's like saying.
How about harm versus hurt? Are you?
Yeah, I might try that. Maybe, I wasn't done talking. I was going to search that next. Okay, difference between hurt and harm. I'm just making sure because this is the first time I've even heard of it being a difference.
Okay.
It is under American Board of Clinical Social Work, so I trust that. Difference between the most innocent forgetting to a lethal beating by intention of the injurer. Okay, I guess you're correct on this. Maybe I was mixing up the terms when I brought this up.
Well, that kills the whole debate.
I was expecting it to get killed pretty fast. It was either going to be like I was misunderstanding the terms or the other person was misunderstanding the term.
Well, now what do we do for the next 30 minutes? Like,
I'm sure we got some questions by now.
Somebody give us another bondage topic or something related to this so we can keep it going. Because I was having fun with you, man. This was cool.
I know, but I'm not gonna be like a dishonest. I'm not gonna be dishonest, even if it would be funny.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I have a hard time. Like, if we want to debate something that I don't actually believe, I need to be able to switch sides on it. You know, like halfway through, and then I don't care. I'll debate it without believing it. But like, I couldn't come up here and say, like, for example, that I think bondage is bad because I don't believe that.
Yeah, and I wasn't coming in saying like we should ban BDSM or anything like that. I was legitimately like, is this self-harm? Because this is a topic that I thought about a lot, and it does come up in like 101 psychology. So I thought it'd be an interesting topic.
For sure. I'm glad you proposed it. And like I said, I'm having fun. Let's talk about, let's see. Do we have any questions? Who done it? Or should we go ahead and find like a different way to continue this? Like
yeah, we do have a few. We don't have a ton. Actually, we got 4 at the moment.
Like, where do you personally consider the line to be between what's hurt and harm then? Or what would you think it should be? Like, if I like getting spanked, you're okay with that. But if I like cutting, is that okay to you?
That's where I'm like, it depends on how bad you, like, how severe you want the attack to be. Like, because, like, there's a difference between, like, a light choke that makes it a little bit harder to breathe to actually suffocating someone.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think that, like, I don't know, knocking someone out from lack of oxygen is pretty extreme. When you choke someone in a bondage setting, and you may not know this, Poopy, but when you choke someone in a bondage setting, the trick is to use a C shape with your hand, because what you're trying to do is actually constrict the blood on both sides of the neck. You're not putting any pressure on the throat itself. You're trying to kind of squeeze on the sides in a C shape like a clamp. So it's not actually cutting off oxygen to the brain, it's cutting off the blood flow, or constricting it rather. And then once you release, it comes back, and again, it feels really, really good.
So. Yeah, no, like I understand that. I'm just saying, like,
so you've done some.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't really like the choking and stuff. It was more so like the spanking and the whips and whatnot.
Okay, so like whips. Let's talk about whipping. I think that it's totally fine to use any kind of implement you want, so long as it doesn't break the skin, or if it does break the skin, it has to be incidental, not intentional.
Well, that's where I was starting to have the issue with, like, even if it's incidental, if you're leaving that as an option, you're kind of putting yourself in danger and, like,
breaking the skin.
Yeah, even if it's incidental, if you're leaving like that opportunity to be open, and that does like happen on a regular basis when you're doing it, I feel like, well, even if it is unintentional, you're still committing self-harm if you're continuing to do it with someone that is doing that.
See, I wouldn't call that self-harm though. Like, I think that, so I have friends who have blood fetishes, right? And like what they want is to be spanked or, you know, otherwise have impact play that causes them to have a small amount of blood, right? To like just bleed from a bruise. I'm not into it. I could not do that to them or to anyone else. I do not want it done to me. That is way too far for me personally, but they're into it, and I don't think it's self-harm for them.
I mean, like, I don't know, man. Like, when I was like suicidal and whatnot, they would always ask if I like hurt myself, and like when I went to like these things, like, sure, when people cut themselves, they usually had like permanent risks, but they also had plenty of people that like cut themselves, but it was only like tiny little scratches.
Cut themselves, only tiny little scratches. Right, right. Well, there's a distinction here, right? Like, I can see someone who has a history of being a cutter, right? Which means they probably took a razor blade and cut like a thigh or something similar, a non-vital area, right? Versus someone who has, score marks from having attempted suicide or having cut themselves on the wrist because they're trying to prepare themselves to attempt suicide, right? Two vastly different distinctions. Can we agree on that? That they're completely different concepts?
I know, but they're like, I'm trying to say, like, they're both still bad. Like, if someone's like scratching themselves to the point of breaking skin, like, that's still bad, even if it's only a little bit.
Scratching yourself to the point of breaking skin. Okay, so for you, you're saying the line is breaking skin. That's where you're saying you do not go any farther than, right?
I mean, personally, I would say bruising, but like those are like two different kinds of force, like sharp between blunt.
Okay, so let me ask you in this scenario, like say that someone is a martial artist and part of their training, let's say they do Muay Thai, right? Part of Muay Thai training can be, at least according to movies I've watched, if anyone actually practices Muay Thai, and I'm getting this wrong, I apologize. But I remember watching this movie where I think it was Sylvester Stallone was out there practicing Muay Thai so he could go win a fight. And the other person is there, like, punching his stomach over and over and over and over again, and then like dropping coconuts on his abs and stuff. And he's supposed to figure out how to tense his abs up enough that it doesn't hurt him when he gets hit anymore. Do you think that's self-harm?
I mean, it literally is. If you're talking about like actual training, when it comes to like kung fu and stuff, people literally make tiny breaks in their wrist and whatnot because it will reform in like a callus and become
Yes.
a more powerful bone. Like that's a
Yes.
very dangerous thing to do because you can overdo it and lead to permanent damage.
Okay, so then you think that, for example, practicing the iron fist or the way of the iron hand or whatever it's actually called, the martial art that the Chinese used in order to combat people in full plate mail, right? Because they had only their hands and spears. So they learned how to use their hand as though it were actually an iron spear, right? Harden their hand to the point that they could drive it into armor and do enough damage they had a shot of winning a fight. They did that by running their hand over and over and over and over again into buckets, first of sand, hundreds of times repeatedly, and then of tiny pebbles over and over and over and over and over again. And as their hands got more and more callous, they kept going up and up until their hands became very, very hard. Very, very hard, right? That's a martial art. It existed. People don't really practice it very much anymore, but it's real. Do you think that was self-harm? They did it to survive. And it strengthened them, made them better people.
Like, I'm not saying like you shouldn't do self-harm for absolutely no reason. Like, obviously there's a line somewhere because like lying is bad, but what if you're lying to a Nazi about how you're keeping a Jew safe? Like, everything has its limits. It's not like just I'm not saying it's axiomatically bad. Like, I'm saying in general it doesn't lead to good outcomes.
In general, self-harm doesn't lead to good outcomes. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
In the instances where it does lead to good outcomes, do you agree that it's acceptable in the same way that lying to someone about, harboring a Jew would be acceptable?
That's what I'm trying to get at. Like, the training to like become more powerful or something like that. Like, I can understand that. And like I said, like, for the time being, if the only way to get your pleasure is through BDSM, I'm not going to like stop you from doing it.
Oh, it's not the only way for most people. What you've got to understand is that the brain, the pleasure center of the brain, is also the pain center of the brain. They're processed in the same area. So when you experience pain, it causes that area of your brain to light up. And then when you experience pleasure, it causes it to light up even more than it would have otherwise. So what you're getting is bonus pleasure from the pain, in addition to the endorphins, which are direct pleasure. Right? It can put you into a state that is similar to drugs without any of the negatives, right? None of the coming back off of it, none of the issues. Yeah, you have people who drop, right? Which is where you need a dominant to provide aftercare for several hours or even days at times, depending on the submissive. But overall, they're getting an incredible experience, which is mostly pleasure and a little bit of pain. And what they're doing is training themselves to endure more of that pain so that they can have more of the pleasure as a reward. That is exactly identical to training yourself to be able to drive your hand through someone's armor because it's going to keep you alive.
I mean, I don't think it's exactly the same. I think there are two different levels of Maslow's hierarchy of need. But I will concede that on some level, like, you do need pleasure in your life.
I agree. I think you do. I think you do. And as long as it's coming from another consenting adult, right? I don't see any problem with it. Um, and I don't think that there ever should be a problem with it because I want the right to experience pleasure with other consenting adults. So I feel like you should have that right too.
Yeah, I'm very pro sex rights and whatnot. Like, obviously, like, there should, if the two parties are consenting and we believe that there's actually, like, they can actually consent, not like, oh, like, this
Sure.
2-year-old consented to this,
Oh
like,
God,
no, like, not that.
no,
But
no.
like, if it's like two adult men that consent, like, yeah, why not? If it's like this, like, those are not the same thing. But conservatives like to conflate the two, and it's like, oh my god.
That's fair. There's a lot of strawman arguments there. They get in there. And yeah, sorry, Nadia, I saw your comment in the top right. He just said that. I agree with you completely. We all should agree on this. A 2-year-old cannot consent in any way, shape, or form.
Yep, I got clipped just like Vosh. That's great. Oh well.
Yeah. If anyone disagrees with that, I am more than happy to debate you, but I am bringing the police. Just be forewarned. Anyway, I think we actually agree on this mostly. How about we schedule a new debate that we can clash more on? I am willing to argue that. Let's see. You want to argue LGBTQ?
I'm very pro LGBTQ. I don't think that you're like, I'm serious. I'm like, do you know who Vosh is? I hope you do, considering how similar your name is.
I don't have any idea who that is. Never heard
Okay,
the name.
look up Vosh and watch some of his videos before you, because I mostly agree with him. He basically, the only things that he gets shit for is he thinks that people that are black and want an ethno state are just as bad as people that are white and want an ethno state, and the left give him shit for that. But like, what the heck? But and back in the day, they would always clip him saying like stuff that made him look like a pedophile. But if you add like 3 seconds to it, he said like, that is the bad argument.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that, so I'm not going to respond to that part. But how about I'll make this argument. I will say that I believe being gay is wrong.
I mean, like,
And I'm willing to debate it.
Okay, if you want to, but I'm pretty for sure you don't actually think that.
I technically do.
Do you mean like in a biological sense of like?
Bro, I'm trying to get clickbait for a title so we can get
Okay,
going.
whatever. Like, if you want to
building
do
on it
that
right
debate,
now.
I guess I will. I normally don't like doing those debates because they're
We just
usually
did one.
dishonest. But from what I've seen from you so far, you seem pretty sincere.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But I would say that what we just did was a clickbait debate because you didn't really feel like self-harm was that big of a deal.
No, I legitimately thought it was. I just didn't understand the difference between hurt and harm.
That's fair. I'm just intentionally phrasing my argument in a way so that people don't understand what I
Yeah,
really
I
mean.
know. And I was trying to make, like, to be fair, I was trying to make like a clickbait title that I legitimately believed in, because I'm just like, I'm so tired of all these like trans debates and whatnot. It's like, I've heard these a million times. They haven't said anything new. Let's get something where we hear something different.
Well, to be fair, like I do actually genuinely think it's wrong to be gay. I just also genuinely think it's wrong to be straight, and I want to debate that. But presenting in this way is more interesting.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about it in DMs later if we.
Yeah, I would say that that's probably more. Yeah, get the challenge board set up, and one of us will definitely take that on for sure. But yes, we do have a small handful of questions. If you wanted to get into that, let me get my questions overlay up. There we go. So our first question from Ozian to Poop. That just sounds wrong. How is pain harmful?
I mean, it's not directly harmful, but if you're experiencing pain, it usually means that you're having harm because that's what pain is meant to do. It's your detector for harm.
Okay.
So they're not
No, go
they
ahead.
aren't the same thing, but they are related.
Okay. Our second question from Tinfoil Freak. Hope your tooth feels better. Does listening to a debate that causes you a headache count as self-harm?
Yes,
Anytime
it
I watch.
does. Legitimately, I had to turn off a couple debates before because I'm just like, oh my god, I've heard this like a billion times. You're not even saying it right. Like I can't listen to this anymore.
Just to finish it was a statement to finish that. Anytime I watch Witsit, I feel physical pain, but I can't stop watching. Witsit being a prominent flat Earth debater, pro flat Earth.
Okay.
Flat I can't even take seriously, so it doesn't even process how
Yeah,
dumb their arguments
it
are.
definitely causes me physical pain,
Yeah,
and I can't stop watching.
with me, it's abortion.
Wait, what's your stance on abortion? Sorry.
The fetus is not a person yet. It does not have consciousness. It can't decide if it wants to be alive or not. So anytime before it starts to have consciousness, it should be perfectly fine to abort.
So anything that doesn't have consciousness, you can abort. Does that include people who are alive but not conscious?
They were once conscious beforehand, so they were able to decide what they wanted to do with their unconscious body.
Okay, we'll explore this one later too. I think we might have a debate here too. Sorry,
Okay,
we can give that question.
like I said, like I'll have a abortion debate or any of these debates with you because I'm pretty for sure you're not just going to be like, well, the baby is a human, so therefore abortion is murder.
No, I like to approach things rationally and try to work on your level of logic, whatever that is. So I don't want to just sit here and spew my viewpoints at you because I don't think it's going to change anything.
I know, like you gotta. Part of a debate isn't just explaining why you're right; it's figuring out what your opponent's level of proof is, or however you say it, like their goalpost for what you to prove it.
Right, for sure. Sorry, who done it? My
No,
bad,
no
guys.
worries, no
I keep you
worries.
distracted.
I like tangents. Tangents are fine. I get into tangents all the time. So
Oh, you want to talk about geometry? What do you think about circles?
well, you see, this is where I click this beautiful mute button I have over here.
Oh, wait, hang on. Someone said this yesterday, and I am actually willing to debate this. Someone said that they would debate that circles don't have corners. I am willing to debate that circles do have corners, and I will do it
What
with anyone who
circles
wants
do
to.
have corners? It has infinite corners.
Thank you. Circles have infinite corners. I'm willing to debate that with anybody, but I actually think they have literal corners that are at 90-degree angles as well.
I
I
look
mean,
forward
like
to
if you
that.
zoom in enough, that's what I'm saying. Like,
So if anybody wants, exactly. See, damn it, Poopy, you just gave away my whole argument.
I was thinking you were going from the center point out, but okay,
Anyways,
we'll move on.
right.
Our next question is from Ozian. Humiliation is not pain or suffering either, and some masochists prefer humiliation. How is that harmful? I'll just leave this to both of you.
I
Okay.
personally didn't really consider humiliation under masochism. I would have considered humiliation under the dominant, submissive part more so. But if it's considered under humiliation, yeah, that's like fine as long as, again, within moderation. Because trust me, even if you know that the humiliation is supposed to turn you on, it can still mess you up.
Well, that's where having a really healthy and open relationship with your dominant or whatever, because I agree with you, that is more of a domination thing than it is a masochism thing. And, you have to have a really open relationship between submissive and dominant, and you have to have really clear communication on what it is each person is looking for. And then the dominant's job is to explore it in a way that is healthy and fun for both of them. Right? Like a common game that dominants play with subs is telling them ahead of time what's going to happen if they do something, right? So you say like, if you forget to get the mail again tomorrow, I'm going to spank you. Well, then if the submissive forgets to get the mail again tomorrow, then you spank them and you have their consent to do it because they are the ones who forgot to get the mail, right? And if they, for some reason, don't actually want that, if they aren't being bratty on purpose or if they don't want to be punished, then they safe word. And the same is true for humiliation.
Somebody's getting a call.
Yeah, sorry guys, hang on, let me see what's going on. Let me just mute real quick. All right. Sorry. Humans are odd creatures. That is true.
I would agree with that.
I was done with that.
Okay, yep.
Did you have anything?
Yeah, Poopy, did you have anything to add on to that?
No, I think I finished my point.
Okay.
Fantastic. Let's move on to our next question from Tinfoil Freak. Where is the line when BDSM becomes actual self-harm?
I think that's more a question to you because I think I already answered it for myself.
I think that's exactly the answer to that question too, is that it's a personal choice for each person. Like for me, anything that breaks the skin at all would be self-harm, or harm, not necessarily self-harm. But on the other hand, like I wouldn't necessarily mind like a dominant woman punching me. That doesn't seem like a bad thing to me. But like if she tried to cut me, I'd be like, no, fuck that. Like it's just unique to the individual. But if you're going to be permanently marred from it in any way, I think that constitutes harm, and you should really, really consider if it's what you want or not. If you decide that's not harm for you, I have no right to tell you it is.
Fantastic. Next one up is from Ozian. I had my entire back poked with holes repeatedly, causing pain and bleeding, to get a tattoo. Is that bad?
From what I've heard from tattoos, I don't think that every tattoo does that. Unless the only way to get your design to get it out there was that, and even then, even if it was the only way, I would still say like that's not necessarily that good. I don't really agree with those kinds of tattoo methods where you actually bleed.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I'm not a tattoo guy. I don't have any, but that's just a natural.
Usually the tattoo, it doesn't actually break the skin, it goes in between it. So it doesn't actually like reach like blood layer. But if you go to like a more traditionalist tattoo, their methods usually break the skin. And I'm not saying like you can't go do it, because obviously it heals in like a scar form, and most people that do it know what they're getting into. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I would not do those kinds of tattoos.
So you're saying a tattoo that actually involves a needle going into your skin is self-harm to you? Like you?
No, not going into your skin. Like I said, like a more traditional tattoo, or a more modern tattoo nowadays, when it goes into your skin, it only goes halfway through. It doesn't actually break the skin. It goes in between it. It doesn't make you bleed. So it's kind of like getting a little rub. It's not really like a poke.
Huh. That's really cool. I had no idea. So would you ever get a tattoo that way?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it, but I just haven't been able to hold a job long enough to get the spare income.
Gotcha. Okay. If you let me pick it, I'll pay for it.
I mean, I do have PayPal, but let me just find a place and get a estimate before you actually decide, because usually they say it's like $100, so I don't know if you really want to do that.
Yeah, like I said, as long as I get to pick it, I'll pay for it.
Okay. Also, depends on what you pick.
Pick the location too. Yeah, your face on his ass.
Wow, who done it? Why on his ass?
I mean, your face on his face. Just want to bring a quick follow-up from Ozian. He says, no, it does have to break the skin, and they all bleed to some extent. Some will bleed more than others. Because you do have blood vessels in your dermis. So, like, when you get a paper cut, they bleed like a son of a bitch sometimes. But they don't go all the way through. But let's get on to our next question. This is a new one from DB. Okay, this is not related at all. If circles have infinite corners, then how does corner have a meaning?
What do you mean? It's a bend.
because-
That's what a corner is. Why would a circle have corners? The only thing that doesn't have corners is a straight line. I don't think you know what a corner is.
Wait, does a corner have to have a 90-degree angle? No, I'm not actually sure.
No,
I'm not sure I
because
know
a 35-degree corner is still a corner because a triangle has 3 corners no matter what kind of triangle it is.
Triangle has 3 points. I don't know if it has 3 corners. Does it have 3 corners?
I
All
swear
right.
I would
corner
say
does
so.
not matter what degree it is.
You're probably right. It's just I don't think I've ever considered it before.
Yeah, it's a place or angle where 2 or more sides or edges meet.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so for sure, I would say that a circle has corners because any circle drawn in any form is not a perfect circle, and it is not. There's no such thing as an actual line, right? If we had a line that we could actually use to draw something with and to shape into a circle, then it wouldn't have any corners. But what we actually have is a series of points, and each of those points contains some kind of shape, and those shapes overlap to make what we consider to be a line and call a circle, but they also have additional parts which are full of corners. So there are an infinite number of small pieces and corners inside of a circle. Sorry.
All right. Yeah, I love tangents. It's fine. Okay, so the next one, which is also not exactly related to the topic, but it was discussed by you, Wash. Can you expound on the statement, it's not okay to be gay or straight? Or do you want to save that for the debate?
Yeah, I really think that it's going to be a lot more fun to go into
I-
that in an actual debate.
Do love tangent angles, Ozian, yes. Alrighty. Go ahead.
Sorry. You're right. Who is that? Gabby. Mathematically, circles do not, because if we consider them as an abstract, right, the concept of a circle doesn't actually have corners. But any real circle that you could point to has points, and so it has corners by necessity.
Wait, I thought a perfect circle has infinite points.
It does, yes. But
So
no matter
wouldn't
how
that
infinite they
be?
are-
Wouldn't a point be where 2 lines converge?
No, a point would just be anything that a point can be anything. It doesn't have to be a convergence point. It just has to exist.
Okay.
A point is a location in a geometric plane. A line has points. Yes, Gabby, a line has points and they are infinite. You can make an infinite number of points in any line because you can always divide the space more. Oh.
Alrighty. Does anybody else have any questions, preferably about BDSM and self-harm? But again, like I said, I like tangents, even if they're off a straight, horizontal off of a curved line. They are possible, and you can calculate the angle. Trust me, flat earthers, it is possible. I'm not sure if we have any other quick questions, although it has definitely delved into this circle debate that you're coming up with, I hope, is going to be a barn burner, because that's what this chat has devolved into.
Yeah, actually, do you guys want to have like there's a flat earth society. Do you want to have a circles have corners society? I'm in to make it. Real quick, the CMFP real circle. Oh, okay, you're responding to somebody else. I won't say anything then. I thought that was for us.
Yeah, so far I haven't seen anything directly related to you that wasn't done through the bots, but
Everybody wants to talk about us, but not to us. That's cool. Doesn't hurt my feelings or anything. No worries, guys.
Okay, well, this might end up being a very short one. Sorry, honey. I swear this never happened before. If you guys wanted to have any final thoughts on this specific topic, like if you want to have another one in a couple of hours, by all means, I might be around.
I actually can't, because my mom, she doesn't understand when I'm doing like these debates. I'm not getting super yelly because I'm not just in VC and I have to yell over like 5 other people to make my turn.
Then hang on. Wait. This may sound really weird, but like Gabby seems to really want to debate the circle thing. Do you like want to pull her up here? And we
Gabby,
can just switch to be
I
Yeah,
think I think she might be on a
just
bit
like
of a
drop me down
vacation.
and
She
I'll
might
end
not
my
be able to do
recording.
that. But hey, Gabby, you could come up. I mean, Gabby, you could pull yourself up here if you want. Just click the button on the bottom.
That's the end of my debate, so I'm just going to end this. Like and
Poopy. It was
subscribe
a
or
lot of fun,
whatever.
man. Thank you very much. I had a lot of fun with
Yes,
you.
yes, the two of you. Thank you. You've been great. I think I've done at least two of you. Two of each of you,
Oh,
your
have you?
debates, and it's been fantastic.
done two of them?
Oh, I've
Oh.
done two of you. You and your twin brother you don't know about.
Oh, daddy.
But
this has been great. I guess, Gabby, what do you think? Do you want to come join up and we can? I can explain this.
I guess. Hey, Gabby.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so you and I agree that a circle is made up of an infinite number of points, right?
Right.
What do you consider a point to be?
What do you, like? Isn't it just like it's just like a place in a plane, isn't it?